Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths podcast. Hey, what's going on, fam? Good morning. Again, well, whatever time you're watching this, I am Jessica. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths. And today, we got some more guests, y'all, in the house. So y'all already know I'm Jessica Pickens. I'm the mom and the wife of the Pickens family, your regular host. We got my co-host, my ride or die over here.
The elite of the family.
Again, I'm still missing the t-shirt,
Jayla,
y'all.
The oldest, greatest.
Working. The oldest what?
Mentally.
Oh my God. Okay, there's going to be a lot of sibling conversations behind that one. All right, more to come on that for sure. But guess what, y'all? We got two phenomenal, quote unquote, guests in the house today. Not guests in my life at all, as I wouldn't be here if it weren't for ta-da. Right? Oh God, here we go already. Okay. And it's starting already. Welcome my mother, my mom, the Nana, Roberta, Bobbi, Bennett, Norman, Clouser, Bennett, Norman, all of them. Yeah, well, welcome to life. That's what you want me to do about it.
It is what it is. Hello.
And welcome to my sister, technically my oldest sister, but also who we'll get into my spiritual mom. I wouldn't know the Lord if it wasn't for this lady. That's a whole nother episode. We ain't gonna do all that today.
Right.
But Teresa Catherine Bennett Price, Teresa Price. The short to the long, or long to the short.
I am the oldest.
Oh, here we go.
I am the oldest.
Oh.
I am the oldest. She's my twin. I'm not her twin. Okay, I'll stop.
All right. So as usual, fam, okay, we have no idea what Miss Jayla Marche has prepared for today. So I'm going to let her get into, I believe our topic in general is how you were parented and how that impacts your parenting styles. And obviously for us as a blended family, it gets all kinds of complex and complicated because there's multiple layers to that thing. Jayla, I'm gonna let you pick up from there and expound if there's more to expound on.
I mean, I think you hit it on the head.
Okay.
It's just we're more or less going to be talking about parenting or the lack thereof, or what you've experienced in your parenting journey. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So the first one is going to be for Nana.
Hello.
Describe what it was like raising 3 biracial kids alone.
Well, it was certainly a new thing for my family. And
feel free to divulge whatever you want. We can always
Right. Little did I know when I was in my growing up that I would have 3 biracial children. But that was a real God thing. And so I learned a lot of things about life. I learned a lot of things about people. I learned a lot of things about what takes place in the lives of different groups of folks. And it was a journey, and often a very perilous journey, quite frankly, because Loving had just gone through Loving is when people who were white and black could marry. It would be legal.
Okay.
And that, I think, passed in 1969. And I met your father 1968. And we were married in 1970. And we couldn't get...
So you were married right before Teresa was
Well, no, she was... Well,
I was 71.
Yeah. So, and we got married, actually... Although it was
you said that like she didn't know.
I was just trying to clarify.
Reminder.
Right. No.
Okay.
I'm like, y'all were married, right? Before I was born.
Were you? Were you not?
We were.
Okay, I just
there's been all sorts of conversations about dad saying who he was really married to and who he wasn't. But
that's a whole other story. Yes.
Moving right along. Anyways,
I'm gonna drink my tea.
I was like, were you or were you
Hey,
not?
he
I'm
ain't
like,
here to defend
don't,
himself.
no.
Right.
anyways,
10 years, y'all.
it was legal at that point, but we did not. We were living in Missouri at that, and in Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Bravery, whole type of bravery.
And we decided to get married in Illinois because we felt it would be less traumatic to show up at a courthouse. Hello. Yep. And so we got married by a pastor in his home in 1970. That's the second marriage.
But I'm gonna keep you on track, but speak to.
So I mean, after the marriage,
yes,
right?
Which was I 4 or 5 when y'all? Because Robert had just been born when y'all got divorced.
Oh,
so
no.
I must have been 5. I think I was 5 because I'm 4 years old. I was 4 years older than Robert.
Robert, yes, yeah.
And Robert was an infant. He wasn't a year old, right? It was kind of similar to.
Right. So I know. Being married, life, love, all the things, 2 parents, yay. And then everything is just ripped from you. How is that like? How am I gonna...
we became homeless. I mean, it was a perilous journey for a while. And we were evicted from public housing and went to the Women's Center, which was a place both for battered women and for women and children who had no place to live. And in fact, I always call the Women's Center my birthing center because I learned a lot about the trauma that single moms and with their children go through. And at one time, I discussed about giving you over to DCFS.
I recall.
And which
you
I
were approached about?
No, she talked to us about.
Yeah,
she was going to give us to the system. To the lady came,
so she could get her. So she could get back on her feet.
Together.
So she could get back on her feet, and we begged her not to.
Well, but no, the most interesting thing was when I talked to the girls about this, and
because Robert was way too young to comprehend.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they're like, they were like, it's fine, but. We were at the Women's Center, there was an up and downstairs, and I guess I was downstairs, and you did not know where I was. And you screamed, Mama. And the way you said it, it was that I knew that I could not, no matter what we went through, I could not do that.
Wow.
Because although you can agree, and you were very, yeah, we can do this, but no, you couldn't. It was hard. It was very, very difficult. Yeah. It was very difficult. And we went, we lived in a motel room. Yeah. But we also were surrounded by a community who helped us a great deal.
So from you all's point of view, I'll let you go first. Okay. What was it like in your point of view growing up with your mom? Because, you were 5 when they got divorced, so that means
we're a year and a half apart.
Yeah, we're a year and a half.
She's a year and a half
older.
older.
So you were able to understand.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember talking about when Mom told us about DCFS and all of that, and just begging with her. Now that you mentioned about Jessica, when she didn't see you and hearing her cry, that does ring. But I remember having the conversation. It was not easy. I actually had to get counseling. I had to go see somebody because we were called horrible things. We were called zebra, police car.
Oreo cookies.
Yeah,
because we were mixed.
Yeah, because we were mixed. And they, even though we're as light as we are, they saw us as dark, as black as this Mike.
Southern Illinois.
Carbondale.
Police car is crazy.
Well, they were black and white.
Yeah.
No, I know, but that's crazy work.
Yeah.
And then just not being accepted by either race. Black people, would say that we were too white. White people would say that we were too dark. Just the whole gamut of things. And truthfully, it wasn't until I got saved and one of the dear friends in the church gave me the scripture in Psalms where it talks about we're fearfully and wonderfully made. I used to hate being biracial. I hated it because I didn't feel a part of either side of anybody. And so when I got that scripture, I anchored it, and now I see why God created me the way that I did, and I know that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. But prior to that, I didn't feel that I was wonderfully made. I felt I hated the way that I was made.
Get a tissue.
Which angle are we coming from? I mean, there's a lot. You're saying, so what am I
Just
answering
from
again?
you all's point of view, like how was it? A general synopsis of how it was growing up.
Okay, before we dive, I mean, to piggyback on what Teresa said, the number one, just one for me, feeling rejected for me, I had a very close bond with my dad. Even it's like I could feel my dad, even though
Little Oscar.
choices were made. And people literally called me Little Oscar.
Yeah.
And I felt rejected. But I remember the day that you put him out of the projects.
Wow.
I remember that you had to shut me in Linda Sue's, the apartment next door, our neighbor. She had to put me in there because I was screaming and hollering bloody murder because I wanted to go with my dad. I didn't want my dad to leave. I remember being 3 and 4 years old. Ooh,
You're only 3 seconds in. No, I'm kidding. Get a tissue.
It's okay, babe.
Get a tissue.
I remember working with my dad under cars.
Yep.
Yep. I remember handing him tools.
Yep. Yeah.
I was like 3.
Yeah.
You felt like that bond was.
Now I'm my dad's kid.
Yeah,
I'm my dad. I have a piece of my dad that even though he didn't parent me,
Yep.
I had a soul tie with my dad.
Yeah.
And I wanted my dad, and I never had him the way that I wanted him. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Never. And even though towards the end of his life when he was trying, that was like the best. When he would come and visit, when he would come and stay, and he was crazy as a beetle bug, smoking in the house in the bathroom, lying and swearing he wouldn't, like, we can't smell it, and I'm like, okay, no one else in here smokes, but okay, you're not smoking in my bathroom, but okay, Dad,
A beetle bug?
He could. Hey.
But and so going from feeling rejected by my dad, to being homeless, to mom was gonna give us up, and I was just like, that was like too much for me to even conceptualize internally, and then because of where stuff was, and you're now I understand, my mom was in survival mode, so we had to grow up like fast in different ways. Like when when mom got back in school and we lived in Evergreen Terrace, and she's now a mom of 3 biracial kids, and you had gotten back into college, you were going to SIU and figuring stuff out and taking care of us. And I mean, I remember we moved out of the motel in that place, and I think when we moved in there, we might have had a mattress on the floor, and then we went and got that with that glass table with the green stools with the wheels on it from the yard sale place. And we were so excited. We thought we was balling with that because it was a glass tabletop, and the thing scooted and rolled around and got the used furniture. But we moved in that place with one mattress, like a mattress, and some bags. SIU housing, public, a student housing for families is how we moved from the motel to Evergreen Terrace because my mom got in school, which meant she was eligible to get us student housing, to get in student housing for families, and we had nothing when we moved in there. But we had a roof. We had our place. It was our own place at the motel. It wasn't even a hotel. It was a motel. Be very clear.
Yes.
Bel Air Motel.
Styrofoam cooler was our refrigerator for 9 months.
Yep.
9 months. While when we did Christmas, we lived the radio station. Somebody called in, and the radio station, the local radio station, we had Christmas because somebody called in and did something, and we got gifts.
Well, that school did. Yeah. The school asked every child in the school what they wanted for Christmas, only because they wanted to find out what they wanted for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And so Christmas Eve, they arrived with bags full of toys and stuff. Money, because they knew I was going to school. They had some money for me. They had a lamp for me to study by. Yeah. And they wanted me to bring Robert, because they asked, Robert wasn't even in school. Yeah. But they asked, and the groceries, I wrote to the radio station and said we needed groceries. And we literally had nothing. This was around Thanksgiving that year. We had nothing. And the man knocked on the door, and his back of the truck was full of food. Friends gave us Ann and Richard gave us the cooler. Yeah. When we moved into SIU in housing, friends bought the
The bunk bed.
Yeah.
The bunk bed.
People started, I mean, we had so many people give so many things.
And that is a testament to how you've touched so many lives.
Absolutely.
And how you've, because for you guys to be kids and for your school to see you, that's I don't want to cry, but that's a whole nother episode.
It's a whole, it was a whole thing.
Which brings me to my next question. Okay. Great leeway. Me and Isabel, she's 15 kids in herself. So
That would be meh.
so you got 3 of you.
No. There's no.
There's like Roberta Norman mixed with Oscar Bennett. Then there's like Roberta Norman mixed with like wisdom. Then there was like Roberta Norman mixed with, honestly, I'm my own person. So how did you manage that as a single mother? Like, because you're saying, you know, you're homeless, you're in women's shelters, you're having to basically barter for what you need. How was that on you mentally and emotionally?
Well, it was, my background was so totally different than what I found myself living.
What was your background?
Well, my background was white in, white, brown way. And when your father and I started to date, my family went crazy. My parents went crazy. And it was very difficult. Who won them over? When I brought,
Well, and you have to
Right.
the full
Let's-
the full gist of it is was it your great uncle who was a Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan?
he was the last Imperial Wizard.
That's how
That my father used to drive him to meetings, and my father and mother lived with him. So
And you say generational curses.
Yes.
I remember doing a book report for history, and I used
His
the
name.
book that I used. His name was in the
Yes.
book.
Oh, wow.
Like no lies. So it's
When the Klan or the National Klan was closed down, they closed it down because of taxes. They owed back taxes. Uncle Jim,
That's his
was the Imperial Wizard. He was not a blood relative.
Right.
He was not a blood relative.
He was married into the family.
Yeah, he was married. Yeah, and so, and I didn't know this until after. I mean, when I was dating your father, I didn't know that was all there. And so
I thought this was something that you knew. Like,
no, I didn't. Not until after I
like
found
true
out.
colors started coming out when you
Yeah,
got with
and
Grandpa.
it was difficult.
But I recall, didn't you say that? Because I don't think I'm making this up in my head. Didn't you? And I thought that you told us as well that like, or was it just Grandpa and that your family like literally thought you were crazy, like mentally crazy for loving a black man.
My
And-
parents.
and- okay, so
my
it was
parents.
just
It was my
yeah.
parents. It was my parents.
and literally like was like you need to be committed because something you definitely got to be
because
off.
I went through. One time I was at my friend's house, and your dad, this is before we were married, came by to pick me up, and my mother. They both pulled up at the same time.
Oh.
They both got out of the car. And they both came to the same door. And then your father politely went back into the car. And my mother comes up and she looks at me and she goes, "Who is that?" And it started a whole lot of stuff. And so, but you know what? I went through a lot with your dad. But I praise God that he came into my life. And that it's so, because when we moved, I literally ran away. He picked me up. We went down to Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and stayed with your Aunt Joanne. And I met the most amazing people. And I was so overwhelmed with the love that was shown to me that I couldn't believe it. I found a whole new world. And that was, I have never, ever regretted any of the fact that we met. I went through a lot of stuff with him. But he also he had gone through a lot of stuff as a child.
Yeah.
And so, and that just carried out over into, he did not know how to parent because he really never was parented.
Right.
There we go.
You know, and so he did not know. Love to him was a hardship. I never doubted that he loved you, but he didn't know how to handle it because he had never been loved.
What did that do for you? Like, what did that?
Well, it was. I didn't want to tell him to have to go, but he also was an abuser, and it was very hard, and it was very painful. The last time he tried to hit me, we were in the trailer living next to, in Carbondale. And no, Cape George, no, where were we? No, that
The
was
trailer
the
was
trailer
in Carbondale on the side of Andana.
Yes. He went to hit me, and you two were looking at the window, and he screamed. And it was like he'd been hit by a rocket because he put his hand down. And he never hit me after that.
So they were your saving grace.
Yes.
Do you feel like, because you were starting to say that they basically, when they met your father, what was that?
Teresa,
like?
she was saying
when I brought Teresa was born in Cape Girardeau. So when I brought her home and I didn't stay with them then. I just brought her over to meet her grandparents. My father knelt beside you for like 3 hours. He was just captivated. He did this gorgeous little baby. You were his only grandchildren. I had I had two brothers. My one brother died when I was 18 months old. And my oldest brother had a lot of issues. So she was their first grandchild. And then when I had Jay, because I needed someone to watch Teresa, I went to Fort Wayne, and she was born in the same hospital that I was.
Oh, wow.
So it was over the course of the years because I have a picture of Mama holding you, just holding you, and the love that was. So I went from you are crazy, you can't be doing this, to you have my grandchildren. It was a whole thing that changed. You feel? I love my parents, but I didn't love their attitude in the beginning, but it changed because of these beautiful babies, and and it was incredible. And I had my mom came from a family of 12. All of them wouldn't have anything to do with me. I had an aunt and uncle in Wisconsin who were great. But, and my father's family, that was the side that Uncle Jim came from. But my grandparents they loved me. They knew I was in a relationship. This is before you all were born. But they wanted me to be happy. They wanted me to be happy. So I went from a very white world into a world of
color.
Yes, and it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. I still remember when I had long blonde hair, and I'm out walking the neighborhood, and your cousin Kate came up to me. She goes, "Aunt Bobbi," and she goes to her friends, "This is my auntie," and they all look at her. She thought she was crazy, but I was, and I am so blessed to have. It was certainly it wasn't an easy journey, but as a journey, I learned much about people, and the goodness of people, and the brilliance of people, and
so I don't mean to cut you off.
That's all right, baby. Yeah.
Learning the brilliance and goodness and all the things of people ultimately led you into a life of wanting to help people and serve people and be there for people. So after you've experienced college and you're becoming more into your adultness.
Actually, I left college.
Yeah.
You left college? Well,
yes.
I mean, after you've experienced college.
Right.
You got into politics and women's rights.
Community organizing.
It
was community. There's a difference.
Community organizing. So you still have 3 children, right? and you're getting into those things. So what was that balance like? Was there a balance?
No, there wasn't, and that was hard on them, because I saw what happened to what's happening in so many different areas, and in fact, it was hard on them because initially when I was doing community organizing, but then it went from community to state, and I got involved in a lot of issues that we had gone through and saw the impact of poverty and not having and needing and being treated as, and it ticked me off. And I needed to change things because I didn't want anybody else to go through what we had gone through, but I also put
Them through.
you all through while I was out doing something to help others. It was not.
So do you think that you all's work-life balance was influenced by what you experienced with her lack of work-life balance?
Ooh, that's a loaded question, niece. Yes. And when Walt and I first got married, I did not have balance. Because I'm an engineer, I'm in a male dominant field. And so I felt like I had to prove myself and I had to be a part of this, had to be a part of that. And even as far as ministry was concerned, not really being accepted as a minister. And so trying to find my place in ministry and not really putting my marriage first. And so there was definitely imbalance that was there. That was costly. Thankfully, yes, I am in that place now. And I never even thought about,
Me neither.
you know, as far as like what we saw,
the root,
you know,
yeah.
what we
Kind of the root
saw,
of-
because, you know, I did not have a childhood. I had to take care of the house while mom was gone, you know, and mom has apologized for that. I don't hate her for that. I've always, you know, in my heart, God has always just, my mindset has been, she did the best that she knew how to do, right? And just even understanding we survived from community, and so you feel indebted and you need to give back. But I remember watching one of the episodes when you were talking about, you and Jerry were talking about blended families, and you were saying you have to think about the kids. And so I think that applies here too. Like, we can be so career focused and community focused in the church, but we're not thinking about family and thinking about the kids. And so, you know, thank you for connecting the dot, because I didn't even really, the drive that was there was because of what.
That's how we were.
Yeah,
I mean, it was,
that's how we grew up.
and again, understanding the backstory, and you have to be mature enough to want to pause and consider someone's intent, right? Like, it wasn't that mom was intending to facilitate an outcome that feels like she abandoned us to go save the world at times, right?
Yeah.
Like she said, her point was she was trying to fix it for other people. So she felt like we, you know, but at the same time in that process, what we wound up feeling like, particularly you get on the other end of it, right? Like, when you're in it, your norm is your norm until you realize it's not normal. Right. And so what everybody in their situation, what you see in your house, if you don't know anything else, if you don't have examples of what's normal, then you think what you got going on, that just is what it is, until you are able to see, wait a minute, we ain't supposed to be home by ourselves like this all the time. Wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be missing school to go do laundry for the whole family when I'm like 8. You remember the red wagon?
Oh, girl.
And the black garbage bags.
And we was like,
and we had to pull them down the sidewalk to get to the laundromat.
Excuse me. Now, wait a minute. Let's not get. Okay, you did it. I said, Herb. Mama was also doing the laundry. Okay.
I'm not saying that you didn't. I'm saying there were times we would take turns missing school when you were doing what you were doing to go do the laundry.
Yeah.
Mom,
Okay.
I was pulling the wagon to the laundromat with the tokens by myself, Teresa, okay.
I do remember the wagon.
Okay.
Yeah,
and Mom, you were not a part of, there were times when we did it as a family, yes, but then when you had meetings and you had stuff, we would take, who did it last time? So we would miss school.
Wait.
We would miss school. He was too young. He was too young.
He was taking advantage. He knew this whole time.
He was too young. And so with the black laundry was in the black garbage bags. You pulling a red flyer wagon thingy, radio wagon, and we had 4 or 5 black big garbage bags piled on. Yeah. And you're a kid at 8. With like 5 black garbage bags walking from your building all the way down that long sidewalk down to where the building is with the laundromat.
Absolutely.
Making sure you got the tokens, the little plastic tokens, because they didn't take money. So and sit there and wash clothes all day.
Yeah.
Interesting. Boom. Oh. You guys are doing well, leading me into my questions. So you get what's given as a child, right? Some kids get more than others, which inevitably can cause resentment with your parents or whomever you're living with, grandparents, whatever. So do you feel like your mom provided you with your basic mental and emotional needs? Why or why not?
So emotionally, yes, because never doubted love, never doubted I could be whatever I wanted to be. And just even that gave me the courage to enter into a male dominant field. So definitely on the emotional, mental, what were the other two? You said
just mentally and emotionally.
Mentally so mentally, I would say yes and no. Because having to be the parent, right, and having to step in and having to do things. So yes, it made me stronger mentally, but then the imbalance part of it, right? Seeing Mom doing what she had to do, and then how do we bridge the gap? And then there were just other things that came. When you don't have a parent protecting kids, then the wolves come and things happen. And so...
And they did.
And they did. And so, and that's not to blame. Again, no blame, no disrespect.
It's just the reality.
People, you parent the best way that you know how.
We were in student family housing.
Yeah.
So we were not the only family where the parents were off at school trying to figure it out and kids were left at home.
Yeah.
So you had kids knocking on our window.
Yeah.
Boys. Yeah. You had kids in the building.
Yeah.
With it was a whole thing. A lot of single parents that were out there. You had families where it was married parents, pastor kids that was sitting on our couch doing things that shouldn't be done because ain't nobody's parents home, checking nothing, setting boundaries for nothing.
What do you feel? Do you feel emotionally and mentally,
I have said many times again, the one part of emotional, I absolutely never doubted that we were loved. Mm-hmm. Never. Mm-hmm. And never doubted my mom's belief in our ability to be anything and do anything that we wanted to be or do. But coming into parenthood myself and understanding the things that weren't there, like appropriate boundaries, a layer of protection, because you have to choose to find the right balance and harmony of how do you navigate work and still manage your kids and know what's going on and set appropriate boundaries and structure and rules, quite frankly, for your kids for the sake of protecting them and doing your job as a parent. So it's hard for me to split mental and emotional because, again, when we were given adult or, grown-up responsibilities at a very young age. And so if I'm missing school to do laundry, for me, the first time I came to my mom and said, hey, there's this boy that likes me. I like him too. I want him to be my boyfriend. I'm 11. He was 16. And she was like, what? and I don't remember the exact words, but basically I recall whatever I said equated to I can do this and you know about it, or I can do it and you don't know about it.
You gave her an ultimatum.
And instead of, now Bobbi used to have some whooping skills, right? She had whooping skills.
Testify.
I mean, dangerous whooping skills.
Bless your whole soul.
But instead of that happening at that moment, like she should have like choked me out. Like at that point, that was valid, and it was still legal then, y'all. She should have been like, oh, like she should have put the foo-fops on me at that moment. Yeah. Like, ninja, what? Mm-hmm. I wish what?
Right.
She didn't have the energy.
So how do you feel like that altered your mental state?
Because I started dating this guy, and 6 months later, mentally, I was pressured into sex at the age of 11. Mm. Because I didn't have my dad. I was looking for male attention and affection. Mm-hmm. My mom was off doing what she was doing, blessing other people. And again, no shade. We've talked through this, right? Yeah. But saving the world. And so I don't even know what an 11-year-old is supposed to be doing at that point in life.
Right.
Because again, while mom was going, there was all sorts of, ridiculous kids acting like grown-up shenanigans going on.
In that building.
In the whole terrace, other buildings and everything else. Terrace. Because there were so many of us left unsupervised.
Yeah.
And so like y'all be like, oh, y'all were so strict. Well, you got to understand where that comes from. Be like, oh no, ninja, I know what happened when you went, oh no. What we not gonna do is do that. So the mental and emotional part, do I feel like my mom mentally, she like Teresa said, she gave me the confidence to know that because I wanted to be a physician. I wanted to be a doctor growing up. And I knew that I could do that. Emotionally, I knew that she loved me. And I didn't know, and when you're living and going through all of this, like when I'm 11 with a 16-year-old boyfriend, and then I was 13 with an 18-year-old boyfriend living in my mama's house. I had the best mama on the planet, baby. And then I had my son. And I was like,
Oh, you thought this was a game.
What in the Sam hand was she thinking?
Yeah.
And it caused an extremely major rift with us for several years.
Yes, it did.
Mm.
Where I really couldn't about stand to be in the same room with my mom for quite a while I was going through counseling, because the gravity of the reality that I was not parented, period, in a responsible manner. Let me say that. We had mom, we were fed, Lord, and Lord knows if we didn't have nothing, baby, we had food.
Right.
And loads of it. Remember that? I mean, we was poor and we had roach motels all in that little kitchen over there, making sure the roaches didn't eat all the sweets and everything else. But this lady knew how to keep food, and that was the security blanket, right? Mm-hmm. She like, y'all, but I get it, right? Okay, y'all got a roof, y'all got food, y'all responsible kids. I'll be back. I'll holler at you. Let me go help other people not go through what we went through. But she didn't. And it's not like she sat down. It's not, she didn't know all the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
Because that's the other part. Like a lot of what we talk about often, and what talk to your kids, man.
Right under your nose.
Please. Talk to your kids.
Yes.
Find out what's going on. And technology is a mug these days. Install cameras. Yeah. It's your house.
Yes.
Yeah, you can make the face all you want to. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking about where.
Well, again, it doesn't. Look, if you got cameras coming in and out, there's only so many different ways somebody can come in the crib. You know what I mean?
I understand.
And so what I'm saying is that she had no. It's not like for a lot of the stuff prior to like that boyfriend that I had, and then we both had boyfriends living in the house at the same time. And
Where
we
was
in high
Robert?
school.
He was
They
off
was,
on side
there?
quest?
No,
they was
he
living
was-
in his room.
Right. Right. It was crazy.
Why are
He
you
was
making
an
that face? You don't remember
accomplice.
this?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And so they was.
Man alive flashing before
Do
her
you,
eyes.
do you remember? Do you?
Yeah,
Oh,
agree?
she
Not
remember.
only
Okay,
that,
I'm saying
I'm
I'm
just
right.
thinking of your grandfather.
I know.
And then, then she moved grandpa. She had to go get after grandma died, and grandpa wasn't doing well. She moved grandpa in with us, so grandpa just watching all the black shenanigans go down in a whole
He
other
like-
type of way, and he
I knew y'all was y'all was like the other half.
Oh yeah.
But so to finish that question, so we can. But the it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
It's a hard question to answer from the perspective of do number one, I know that like my mom is like brilliant to the brilliant to the brilliant to the brilliant. So thank you for the academic gene.
Yes.
Cause somehow,
It
some
was
way,
passed down all the way to Nova. Trust. That girl.
in spite of all of the events, turmoil, trauma, good, bad, all of that, as far as what was going on with me and dating and guys and just growing up way too fast and all of that, I was the only black in my top 10, in the top 10 of my high school, all 4
Clock
years.
that.
I graduated
Clock
high
was-
school
Couldn't
with
play her.
above
Period.
a 4.0 on a 4.0 scale.
Yeah.
I had a full academic ride to college.
Yeah.
And so, but that level of perseverance and determination, that comes from my mom, right? And so that gene, that mental was there. Yes, ma'am. Right? It just was
But
imbalanced.
you feel like a self, like how you felt about yourself wasn't.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
I was extremely insecure. And the major part of that, again, like I knew my mom loved me, and I knew she said that we could be whatever we wanted to be. And so,
He's so funny.
Bless my husband.
y'all, this
And
is what
my
happens when
man.
family's in the house and, you try to record your podcast
Well,
and
at least it
it's a
ain't
mental.
as-
That's okay.
That's
You
a
can
handsome
seen us
voice,
at
though. I gotta
Right.
get that. I gotta find out who that voice belongs to.
My pastor.
I'm gonna have to holler. I'm gonna have to holler.
Bastard.
I'm sick.
And
No.
so being able to, but understanding that I'm grateful that we took away both. We took away the positive and
negative.
we took away the negative, and it's been a struggle for me as a grown woman. And Teresa and I have talked about this a lot. And then so when you start trying to assess and analyze, where the heck does this come from? Like that was an aha moment, Jayla, when like we both is going, well, dang, we haven't connected that dot as of yet. When you're going, well, wait, so you was out trying to save the world, and they was, so did that cause a work-life balance for you two?
Right. We had.
And we like, well, dang,
Right.
yeah.
Gotta get some fresh eyes on the case.
Right.
Yeah.
That one.
Good eyes. Good
That
eyes. Good
that
eyes.
Okay, Nana. So
Did you have
what's
something?
something?
Wait. Did you?
Oh,
have
I first of all, I guess to go, I thought a lot about this because when I was growing up, it was a very difficult world for women.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole revolution was taking place. There was stuff going on with civil rights. There was stuff going on with the feminist movement. It was like what women couldn't do, you couldn't have. It was ridiculous, and it ticked me off. It took me off greatly. And I guess so. When I was growing up, I was at home by myself a lot. A lot. In
so
fact, I
that's
often
where
was
that
cooking the
her
meals
normal-
for fun. That was, yes.
Oh, because didn't they own a gas station? And see,
yeah.
and you've never said that to
Well,
us.
I know
So
that.
wait, Grandma wasn't there. Like, what was she doing
She was working.
at the gas station?
She was working at J.C. Murphy's. Anyways.
What was that? Was
that
J.C. Murphy's
was
at
a dime
grocery-
store. That was a dime store. Back in the olden days.
Like
Dime store.
like a Dollar General store.
Yeah,
So
Like-
grandpa was running a gas station and she was working at a store?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well,
Yeah.
then that makes
Well,
sense.
this isn't
So-
a
Where was
aha
Uncle
moment.
Harry?
He was
Oh,
Oh,
we'll leave that alone.
He was doing
moving
those.
right along.
Yes.
Okay. So oftentimes I was the one cooking the meals.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow. Okay.
It,
Well, there you have it. I wouldn't
but also there was so much going on politically that irritated the stuff out of me. So I felt I was automatically just pulled into it. That's when, the first march that Robert's 18 months old,
Yeah.
ERA.
Yeah.
That ERA thing.
Yes,
you all
On
went
the
to a
front
lot
of
of
the
marches, a lot of
newspaper. Yes,
demonstrations.
we
There was so much going on.
Yeah.
There was so... I used to watch people of color being attacked with dogs it was horrible what was going on. And it bothered me to the very the degree of so it ignited in me something that you all suffered from, because I was so ticked at the world that I wanted to do something about it.
Yeah.
And because of what we went through, I got very much involved and created a lot, got involved and did a lot of stuff.
So do you feel like your lack of parents yourself, you not having your parents how you did, subconsciously drew you to wanting to save other people, inevitably creating a cycle that you just came from that you didn't want?
Well, I lived in a world that was so totally different than the world when I was growing up. So totally different than the world that I lived as a parent. And I learned so much about a system that was very much, my great uncle was